femininity can't be measured, you know, like it's not a penis shaft, but we do measure it. I'm here. I've got a pink mug. Pink, usually sold to people who identify as women or girls. Me. I don't think I've ever talked about this on my channel, which is unusual because I've made so many videos about sex and sexuality and lifestyle and whatnot, and this kind of ties in so much to a lot of what I talk about, but it's one of those invisible things. It's one of those things we don't really think about much, though it's been a big topic of conversation for the past few years online. So I'm going to share a lot of my thoughts in this video with you guys about gender, something that I don't yet fully understand. So I would really appreciate it if in return you could comment your own thoughts and experiences of gender, your own relationship with your own gender, so that everyone can read them, because it's just going to be me sat here chatting, and I want this to be a big chat. So I grew up in a world where gender and sex, they were used interchangeably, but now there's this huge distinction between the terms, and because of all of the online chat about gender, I've kind of been thinking a lot about my own gender, my own relationship with gender. Will you be going on a wedding diet? That's something I've been asked a lot in the lead up to my wedding from viewers and people in my real life as well. As a bride, the performance of diet culture is expected of me. The big beautiful dress and the elegant hairdo and the soft makeup and the heels, they're all generally expected of me too, even though all that's expected of my husband to be is that he show up, preferably in a suit. But you won't find me complaining about that, because feminine is a role I enjoy playing. Definitely not all of the time. Not every day is a wedding, is it? Sometimes I kind of like to just be, and thankfully in my relationship, gender roles don't really matter all that much. Like when he and I are just spending time alone together, we're not really that different.
You can't tell me what to do. Why do you tell me what to do? That doesn't make any sense.
And yeah, like when it comes to making babies and that kind of a thing, of course the sex of myself or my partner is relevant, but like other than that, it's just, I don't know, it's not really a thing in my relationship at all. So it is very interesting to me, as someone who's interested in psychology and sociology and everything like that. It's interesting as to why I'm so utterly enthusiastic about going all graceful bride as someone who is hyper aware of the spectrum of gender and the fact that I move up and down along it depending on the day or the situation. Like, my mind is drawn to the time when I was younger and I spent months wanting to be the little boy from Casper, A Spirited Awakening. I just wanted to be him.
My dad thinks I have an overactive imagination.
Oh, a good imagination is a powerful tool. It allows us to do great things, like saving a landmark against all odds.
I like the way you think.
And I wanted to be my cousin John. At another point in time, I asked my dad to buy me all of the same clothes that he used to wear. I would literally just dress up like him and act like him because I thought he was really cool. And for ages I exclusively played with my brothers, like boy toys, you know.
And I remember feeling like so weird and awkward. What age was I? About 12 there, or 13? I felt like I looked a lot older and I looked like a boy. I felt like a boy. I think that's why I cut off my hair. I didn't know what I was about.
Very interestingly, there was a time when I was dating a girl and I remember kind of feeling very in touch with my masculine side. This is the thing, when I say masculine and feminine, I don't really fully know what I'm talking about. I would be putting my arm around her shoulder or like opening doors for her and kind of doing things that when I grew up was always expected of the man in any relationship in like a heteronormative kind of society. The truth is that sometimes I don't play the role of feminine woman very consciously. The cloud of characteristics associated with femininity, body language, choice of words, the labour of looking feminine, the ability to be nurturing, caring, supportive, sensitive and in touch with my emotions whilst taking up as little space as possible. This is a cloud I stumbled into during like childhood and adolescence, and it seeped into my skin, you know, into the foundation of my being, of who I am. That is what social categorizing, that's what that does. And I don't necessarily think it's bad. It's kind of just how we have functioned as society. But some of the societal expectations of women, and like in this video I'm not really talking about what it feels to be a man. I'm not out here saying it's harder to be a woman, because I know there are different weights that come with being male or female, or like living that life. Yeah, some of the societal expectations of women have insidious roots in like capitalism, like the notion that a large part of our value lies in our appearance, leading many of us to kind of spend a lot of our hard-earned money on the latest technologies to maintain or enhance our beauty, you know, and the trendiest makeup products and fashion items and all that kind of thing. Things to help us be delicate and sweet to look at all times. I'm so aware of this. I'm so aware of when I'm kind of falling prey to it. I have touched on that before in other videos. It's not something I fight against, because I do quite enjoy a lot of it. It's just, this is just me mind vomiting my awarenesses. Do I care about it? Yes. I do care about the fact that I feel really like bad if I haven't shaved my legs. I feel that I need to have shaved legs and like shaved underarms to feel acceptable at like a party in a dress. I definitely feel that way. The fact that I can't win bothers me. Like, if I don't do myself up all pretty and whatnot, I'm viewed more negatively by some people. And in some situations, you know, like if you're in a job interview and things like that, but then if I do myself up too much, I'm considered high maintenance, spoiled. Like, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. And then, yeah, do I want to fight this tide? No. I'm kind of comfortable swimming. I have found like comfy, enjoyable, safe pastimes in this, in the use of these tools of my prescribed gender expression. Other traits associated with femininity then: intuition, empathy, community, sensuality, collaboration. These have social and, like, some would argue biological roots. And to be honest, to perform them correctly brings a form of social capital that definitely benefits your girl out on this wild ride of life. As a bisexual woman, I have always identified very strongly with the word femme. My appearance and my behaviour are both seen as traditionally feminine. You know, I have long hair, I regularly get manicures, I wear makeup, I wear A-line dresses, I like cute little heels and handbags. And if you were out in public and you took one look at me and how I conduct myself, and if you were asked to label me masculine or feminine based on, you know, how I look and how I act, you would know which word to slap on my forehead. Even though the word feminine is constantly evolving, and that's what language does. Language evolves, which can make this whole gender discussion really confusing and tricky for me. And let me know if you feel that way as well. I find that if I'm ever reading a comment section under a video about gender or under an article about gender, I can get very stressed out. I just feel very stressed immediately when I'm kind of trying to see both sides of the argument and kind of witnessing the fact that just people are at different levels of understanding. I don't know where I am on this kind of spectrum of understanding. Where are you on it? Femininity can't be measured, you know, like it's not a penis shaft, but we do measure it. Queer men are often described as feminine based on how they speak or sit or gesture, or whether or not they cry watching a Julia Roberts movie. At the same time, there are women who might have like their hair cut really short and they'll have let their armpit hair grow out, and they'll still be referred to as feminine because they just exude that something. We point out how great it is that there has been this generational shift where people can embrace their masculine and their feminine qualities, but at the same time we still put people into boxes because it helps us to make sense of the world. You'll see someone describing other people and they'll be like, oh, Joe down the road, he's such a lad, he's such a guy, you know, he's just such a guy. Or they'll be like, oh, my sister Rachel, yeah, she's so girly, she loves girly things. It's just interesting to me that we put people into these boxes. I've seen a lot of discussion around this with Philip Schofield, who I adore, and he came out as gay in the past week or so. And loads of people are just like, oh, I always knew because of how he talks or how he just how he is. He's just feminine, and you could tell. So it's interesting that sexuality and gender often get like messed up into this big ball, like, and it, I don't know, like, I've met girls before and just something about them tells me that they're either lesbian or bisexual. Like, I just get this kind of feeling, but it's not really necessarily based on their gender. Sometimes it is. I don't know. What do you think about all this? It bothered me seeing all the comments and jokes and memes about Philip Schofield. Like, it really did, because I don't think that assuming someone's sexuality or their gender, that stuff isn't helpful. It's not necessary. Back to that word femme though, right? So why do I identify so much with femininity if it's just this kind of device to make me buy loads of things that I don't need? And if it's so often associated with weakness and submissiveness, if it's so time consuming and costly and painful, and like I identify with it because that's not really how I experience femininity, and that's what matters. Like, I associate traits like kindness and compassion and like outspokenness with feminine women. I also bloody love getting all dolled up, even if it is a learned love. I don't think it's cool that so many women like shit on other women for being interested in that kind of stuff. Like, we applaud men who embrace drag and, you know, get all dolled up and stuff, and like, us women were simply kind of repeating a habit that we learned at a very young age, and I think we all need to lay off each other. Just as I adore performing femininity, because I consider myself a feminine person, I really like playing with my masculine side too. As an example, I wore what I would consider a very masculine outfit to the launch of my debut novel. It was a beautiful Calvin Klein suit, and I felt strong and big, like I could take up as much space that day as I wanted because it was my day, you know? Like, I don't feel limited to one way of looking or existing at all, even though I'm kind of used to and like comfortable in my kind of typical go-to little bit of winged liner, little bit of lippy, little dress. Sometimes I won't wear makeup for like a week and I'll live in jeans and I'll feel and I'll look more aggressive than usual, especially if hormones are involved. If I'm stressed out with work and I've got a lot on my plate, I tend to kind of transform into this other Melanie. Feminine is my go-to and my fallback, and I'm completely okay with that. And I don't feel any kind of need to identify my gender as anything other than, like, you know, I'm a woman, because that feels comfortable to me. But I am starting to really understand how that may not be comfortable for many people. When people first started talking about being non-binary and gender fluid and that kind of thing, it just really went over my head. I had a friend who I met through YouTube like about 5 years ago, and he and his wife at the time were kind of talking about all this kind of stuff to me, and I was just so gobsmacked. I just didn't get it. A few friends have said to me over the years, you know, Melanie, you don't have to get it. It's fine. You don't have to understand everything. And I was like, yes, it was such a, like, just having the permission to not understand something is fantastic. And I think there needs to be more of that. We can't attack everyone for kind of not being at our level, if that makes sense. But yeah, the more I've thought about my own relationship with gender, the more I have understood different gender identities. I'm gasping to feel like a princess on my wedding day, and I think that's okay. You see, once upon a time, the concept of being a lady was something to aspire to. Respectability could be achieved through conduct of femininity, but today things aren't so binary. Like, respectability can be achieved by being a good person. Nowadays, anyone can be a princess for a day, and I think that's pretty great. Stereotypical femininity is something that anyone can embrace or reject if they want. It's shaking the world up right now, and I'm just sitting here watching as I run a business, a king in heels, you know. Let me know your thoughts. I forgot about my fucking tea and now it's cold. Bye.